more love, more joy, everything.
It's inspired young people.
Inspiration comes from within you. When you clear out the garbage that's in your mind, you then create space for something better, more beautiful to come in.
Let's have life and have it more abundantly.
I say yes.
It's like taking a workshop. I get to be in my pajamas.
We have a very active imagination, which is why it's important to learn how to harness it and then point it in the direction you want to go.
I listen to your show every day.
It's time now for Living Your Inspired Life with Susan Burrell. Susan is no-nonsense, inspirational, motivational, and fun.
This is positive talk radio.
Practical wisdom for everyday life.
It's a gift you give yourself.
Now, here's Susan.
Well, hello, and welcome to Living Your Inspired Life. You're listening to News Talk 1590 KVTA, and we're here every Sunday talking about how to tune in and tune up and develop your power perspective. So if you've missed anything or you're just joining the show, go to livingyourinspiredlife.org, the website. All of our shows are on that site, so you can re-listen, you can retune yourself in the middle of the week and have a great opportunity to explore some of the concepts we talk about on Living Your Inspired Life. So with that said, I am just thrilled today to have with me a guest. His name is Dr. Amit Goswami, and he's a quantum physicist who has written a bunch of books, some of which I've read actually, but he's just come out with his latest book, which is called Quantum Creativity. So welcome to the show, Dr. Goswami.
Thank you, Susan. Good to be here.
So I just want our listeners to know a little bit about you. You've written many, many books. The one that I have read and really liked was The Visionary Window, but you've also written Physics of the Soul, The Quantum Doctor, which I also read and loved, by the way, and The Self-Aware Universe. And you've been in several movies, but the one that I own and adore is What the Bleep Do We Know? Because you, Dr. Goswami, are known for having pioneered the new paradigm known as science within consciousness. So can you talk just a little bit about the science and consciousness and quantum physics for those people out there that kind of don't know how all that goes together?
Yes, I'll be happy to, and this is a good way to start talking about the inspired moments that quantum physics can bring in people's lives. So how it started is that in quantum physics from the get-go, the objective initially was to say that even things which appear like waves, like light, these actually have a particle-like characteristic, a discreteness, and that's the word quantum. Quantum means discrete quantity. But very soon it became clear that even matter that you conventionally think of as matter, which are already thought of as discrete, they have the reverse property. They are wave-like. So this wave-particle duality, when we examine this closer, then it turned out the really mysterious part of it, which breaks up the Newtonian worldview of matter moving in space-time right away, which is that all objects are actually waves of possibility.
So let me just repeat that, Dr. Goswami. What you just said is all objects are actually waves.
All objects are waves of possibility.
Waves of possibility.
You think of them as traditionally as waves, or whether think of them traditionally as particles, they all are waves of possibility. That's what the straightforward lesson of quantum mathematics is.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can debate it.
And so these
when
waves of...
we measure these waves of possibility in the presence of a human observer, these waves of possibility become particles of actuality. So waves live in a different domain of reality. This is called domain of potentiality. Whereas when we convert them into particles through our observation or measurement, they become particles in the domain which we call domain of actuality, domain of manifestation, which of course is very familiar to us. This domain of possibility we experience as unconscious in us. We are not conscious of it. In spiritual traditions, this domain is called transcendent domain.
Transcendent.
And the domain of space-time, they call immanent domain.
Mm-hmm.
Psychologists call this domain of transcendent unconscious. And the domain of conscious, they call it conscious or aware. So these are nomenclatures that have happened before, but the new science is making them based on quantum physics, which has the advantage of it is based on experimental data. The real breakthrough is that we now know how to differentiate these two domains of reality. Because if you know experimentally how to differentiate, then there is no doubt about the fact that there are really two domains of reality. So in 1982, a physicist named Alain Aspect in France and his collaborators did this breakthrough experiment. They showed that the speed of communication in the transcendent domain, the unconscious domain or unmanifest domain, is instantaneous. There is no speed. There is absolute no time to communicate. Communication is instantaneous. That's one. So no signal is involved. Relativity tells us that for instantaneous communication, you cannot use signals. Relativity forbids it. All signals in theory of relativity verified by experimental data tells us all signal transmission takes time. Instantaneous communication, which is the characteristic of this domain, there is no time and therefore there is no signal. In quantum physics, this is such an astounding effect. We call this signal-less communication, we give it a special name, non-locality.
Non-locality.
Non-locality distinguishes this domain of potentiality from the space-time domain where objects always take a little bit of time to communicate, where communication occurs through signal. That's the local domain of reality, space-time domain of reality. Now, what does that tell you? Newton is telling us for a long time, scientific materialists, that's the philosophy of everything is matter, moving in space-time philosophy. They are telling us that there's only one domain of nature, space and time. Newspapers tell us about that every day. Magazines talk about that. But in reality, quantum physics, from the get-go, and that's now 8-year-old science, 9-year-old science, it is telling us that, no, this is not the case. The case is that it's experimentally verified case that there are two domains of reality. So what does it mean? What is the meaning of this transcendent or unmanifest domain where objects are possibilities? This is where I came in and showed some time ago that if you ask the question how this possibility becomes actuality, then you can find out what this domain is really about. It's about our consciousness. You have to posit that consciousness is the ground of being in which matter exists as possibilities, and consciousness chooses from these waves of possibility the actual effects of existence. Then only you can understand how possibilities ever can become actuality.
So Dr. Goswami,
physics,
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
let me just restate what you just said so that I'm clear in understanding it, because these are large concepts. So what you're saying is that there is this consciousness that is an energy, so to speak, that's larger than our human conscious mind, and in that consciousness, there is this realm of possibilities, infinite possibilities, yes, that when we become conscious of them, then we are able to access all of those possibilities or make a choice as to which one we want. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying a little bit more. I'm
Yes.
saying that we already have made a choice in that unconscious state.
Oh.
We already have made a choice, and the result of the choice is showing up in my conscious recognition of it.
And
in my conscious recognition, I see an object, and I see myself as a subject identified with my brain. But before the observation, before the measurement, before the manifestation, my brain and the object were all part of the possibilities of consciousness, which is the ground from which everything comes. All manifest experiences come from that ground.
So what you're saying is then what we're seeing in terms of the object in our lives, say, like we're seeing a car or we're seeing a job opportunity. Those things are still, I want to say, fluid. Yes, I mean we can change that.
It a fluid, if you understand that is a very refined fluid. It's not even a fluid in manifestation. It's really a probability fluid or a possibility fluid.
And that's what you're talking about.
That fluid-like nature is a very good description, Susan. So thanks for using this word.
Okay, so then that's what you're talking about when you're talking about the time-space continuum, and then the where there is no time-space. That's where those things intersect.
Right. So there is this reality, manifest reality, which is time-space continuum. But then there is this reality, which is outside of space and time, where there is no space, no time, and this is the domain of possibility, which can also be called as consciousness. Consciousness is that interconnected domain that instantly connects. Every place is instantly connected by consciousness.
So then let's talk just a little bit about that. The thing you were talking about, because of that, because it interconnects there, that idea of the non-locality, because I think that's what we're seeing on the planet right now. That's coming. Because more people are becoming aware of it. But can we talk just a little bit more about that before we jump into your book, Quantum Creativity?
Yeah, because people are actually quite familiar. Like take the word community. Where the word community comes from? It comes from the word communion. And when people say communion, it's a connection that we feel that's innate, that's instantaneous, that doesn't go through signals. So we are not exactly unfamiliar with ideas of non-locality. It's just that what happened is that in between our ideas that we are very familiar with in spiritual tradition, in between we are going through a sort of a intruder idea, intruder philosophy called scientific materialism, which for a while became very popular, and still actually, to tell you the truth, is quite popular.
Yeah.
Almost half of America tend to believe in it, which is the idea that there is only matter moving in space-time. Probably not half, but the media and the academics certainly believe in it, and that's what makes it so ubiquitous and so widespread as a belief system. But this belief system is wrong, according to quantum physics, which actually is the right science, accepted even by these same people who continue to believe in Newtonian worldview, but actually use quantum physics for their technologies quite unabashedly.
That's got to be a hard way of living, to believe in one thing and use something.
Contradiction built into your behavior.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So this idea of non-locality means we don't have to be in the same place and time in order to affect something or choose something or change something. So when the earthquake and the tsunami hit Japan a couple of years ago, I know there were many people that wanted to make a difference. Same with the Philippines. Many people that wanted to do something. And what happened also is a lot of people were just praying, if you will, or sending love, or consciously making a conscious choice to surround those people and those communities with something that was not necessarily materialistic and tangible, and that helped.
That helped. We now have actual scientific proof of that. People can pray at a distance for other people's healing under scientific experimental guidance and protocol, and they find that prayer at a distance, non-local obviously, helps to heal people at a hospital who are recuperating from surgery.
Right.
So these are just facts and uncontroversial pretty much, although, controversies surround them still because they affect people's belief system in such a fundamental way. People are not ready to give up those staunch belief systems. The media is also very resistant. And
right.
You accept it, of course, but, usually the ideas of quantum physics don't get much publicity unless they're supporting a materialist technology or even a future technology. Time magazine, I noticed, did a feature on quantum computers, but they still haven't done a feature on quantum consciousness, which is what we have discovered for almost 30 years.
Yeah. So then let's talk about your book, Quantum Creativity. I want to read a quote that caught my attention. You said, by becoming aware of our role in a creative universe based on consciousness, we can align ourselves with the evolution of consciousness at a time when life on our planet is under duress. Now, I love this because what you're saying is if we can align ourselves with this creative consciousness, then there's something we're going to be able to participate or contribute to for the greater good of the planet.
Absolutely.
I love that. So then
and it is really something that we all can do. And this is within the doability of all of us, including all of our listeners. So it's really something to be inspired about, that I can contribute something to the movement of consciousness.
Right. So you don't have to have a Ph.D. or be some sort of committed churchgoer or anybody can do this. Anybody can contribute.
Absolutely. Anybody can contribute. Anybody can be creative. Anybody can think in the quantum way. All you have to do is very simple recipe. This is the greatest discovery of all this, is that if you just follow up your do habit, which is okay, but follow it up with some focus in the doing, and then learn to relax.
Okay.
And then alternatively, do this focusing and relax with an inspired problem that you want to solve. That problem can be the problem of your own life, like how to love, how to bring love in your relationship, which is becoming a little strange. Very practical problem. All couples do with this after a while, after the romantic period goes away.
So so what you're describing is for our fast-paced culture, the best thing to do is to do some doingness, but take time to contemplate and relax. That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
So this sounds like Edison to me.
That we cannot avoid. Do it in a focused way, however, some of the time, and then relax. And this in answer to your focusing and relaxing on a question that can be your personal question of living or your question of producing a product, either way, creativity will come. Creativity will come and the product will take shape. And it's an amazing process. It's, of course, called creativity. Sounds very esoteric, and the presentation of the current culture is that it is only the purview of a few talented people.
Mm-hmm.
Not true. Quantum physics is saying that everybody has the right and prerogative of being creative. All you have to pick up is this quantum thinking, do and be. Ordinary thinking is just doing. You think. Quantum thinking is think for a while, relax. Again, think for a while, relax. And that relaxation takes you to the unconscious, where quantum possibilities are processed, and quantum possibilities become bigger and bigger and bigger, making a huge pool of possibilities for you to choose. And when you do this artfully, then you are full of creativity, and that is the way that every human being is built. You're not machine.
Well, they say that Edison did all his discoveries by taking short cat naps in between experiments and things like that. So that's kind of what you're describing here is set the intention and then relax and it'll come.
Yeah, I'm glad that you reminded people of his cat nap. Sometimes people say that, well, Edison himself said 98% perspiration and 2% inspiration, but those cat nap inspirations, 2% indeed was very important.
Very important.
So, yes.
So if you could describe, because in your book you talk about that there's stages of creative process. That's what you're just describing, yes?
Yes. Yes.
Now, is there anything else about the creative process we need to be aware of?
Yes, there is. There is a lot in the creative process that we can be aware of. This is why it took more than 200 pages to go through all the aspects of it. But I can summarize the major aspect of it. It starts with an intuition. So creativity depends very largely on sensitivity to the intuitive dimension of our life. Now you might say, well, what is intuition? Once in a while, everybody is familiar with this business. Once in a while, some thought comes to us. And it comes along with what we call a gut feeling.
Uh-huh.
We get a feeling in the gut. It makes us a little uncomfortable. There is something here that I should pursue. There is something of truth here that if I pursue, I'll find. But we don't know quite what it is. That's the creative intuition. That's the initiation of the creative process. Like something is telling us that, yes, it's possible to know how to love. It's possible. That possibility comes to us so clearly that we feel it in the gut. It is possible. How to bring it to fruition is the role of the creative process. So this role of intuition is very important. Do, be, we already described. The alternative, work and relaxation. Focus, attention, deprivation, and relaxation. Just relax. Let the unconscious take care of it. Another way of putting it is that the unconscious, which is very benevolent, sometimes so benevolent that we call this unconscious God or some sacred name like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just relax. Relax means what? In spiritual traditions, there is a saying, put down your luggage. You're already in the train. You're already on the plane. Put down your luggage. You are automatically going to carry the luggage. So that's relaxation. You relax. Whatever your luggage is, your mental worries and thoughts and stuff, even about the problem that you're trying to solve, just relax. Put it down. Put the luggage down, which will be carried. Don't worry. It's the unconscious is taking over. So
Dr.
that's the relaxation.
Dr. Goswami, I have to tell you, sorry to interrupt, but this is a hard thing for a lot of people, or maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me, because I was raised that you get your work done and then you get to play, or you get your work done and then you get to take your nap. And so I know there's many people that spend so much time trying to get all the work done, which of course we never really do. And then you go home exhausted, and that's not even relaxing. You're just exhausted. So I love this idea that you're describing of doing focused work for a while and then taking a break. My son actually does that automatically. I thought he was slacking, but he needs to do that. He needs to work for a while and then take a break. And I am trying to do that myself. I would just rather, that whole idea, the old paradigm of putting your nose to the grindstone really doesn't work for people anymore, especially now in this new paradigm, right?
Yeah, it never has worked for people that good anyway, but now it is becoming very, very clear. We can get work done by the do stuff, but it will be machine-like mechanical work. Anything that requires creativity, anything that requires a huge change, like the kind of behavioral change at the human level that we are talking about, like how to love your wife or how to love your partner, or if it is about a scientific problem that is more difficult than an ordinary problem-solving problem, or if it is a piece of art that you are trying to create, or if it is a business that you are trying to run which has a creative challenge before it. All these situations cannot be solved by machine-like behavior, machine-like conditioned activity. You have to go and make some changes which you have not made before. You have to go into the unknown. So that's what I was going to say, that after the importance of intuition, after the importance of doing and being, this adventurous spirit, this risk-taking, that has to be emphasized. This is the part where you have to want to make changes. You have to intend that, yes, I welcome the change. I will do this process. I will undergo this process because intuition is telling me I'll undergo this process, although the process has some risk into the unknown that is part and parcel of the process. Because I don't know how the unknown is going to reveal itself. And so initially it might seem a little scary because people are afraid of the unknown, although it may be very mild and really not serious, but still we become afraid, why should I change? Something that is not broke, don't change it.
Right.
That is the idea we subscribe to. And these things make us very conservative. So the idea of being liberated from this kind of fear is very important. So instead of approaching things with fear, I say that you approach things with love. Why do I want to undergo it? Because we love this world. This world needs to change. We need to get rid of this global warming stuff that we are having. We need to get rid of violence in the form of terrorism that blocks all of us today. We need to have good mental and physical health. Health crisis is an absolutely non-acceptable situation. We have to have a running good economy so that we can get suitable, meaningful jobs for people. We got to have a change in our democratic process which can go beyond the logjam that we see in our Congress. These things are a must. How can any American not think of these things and still want to fulfill their American dream?
Well, so Dr. Goswami, how does quantum creativity help in making these changes? Then, how does that help?
The common item, I hope you already have noticed that all of these existing solutions are not working. Everybody knows that the way we are using science and technology and economy is not conducive to keeping our environment safe. We are just doing the wrong things. We are finishing our resources, putting too much pollution in the environment, the way we are using the absolutely tremendously energy-intensive industries that produce too much pollution. Second of all, terrorism. We have too much of worldview clashes between Islam and Christianity, clashes between fundamentalism of religions and fundamentalism of science that we call scientific materialism. Dogmas against dogmas. That's tearing us apart. So these are the things. These are just some of the things. There are just so many. Like take the case of healthcare. So what is not helping us? What is not helping us is absolute dogmatic attitude of the AMA that their method of healthcare, allopathy, the use of drugs, chemicals, and physical means, are the only ways that we can heal people. But healing and disease both depend on the subtle dimensions of our experience a great deal. And today, quantum physics is devising subtle concepts such as vital energy, such as mental mind, which processes meaning, even the supramental values, love, beauty, justice. These are very important stuff of our healing, of our health. And these allopathic doctors just are completely ignorant of these dimensions. People who know about these dimensions are alternative physicians, but their work is undervalued.
What I'm hearing you describe, Dr. Goswami, is almost like where people hold to their belief system or their opinion so strongly, and they think it's kind of what you just cracked by being a quantum physicist, right? The Newtonian idea is the way it is, and that's the way it goes, and everybody thinks that's it. But yet, what we're seeing in the world with everything you've just described, with the global warming and the healthcare systems and the economy and the fighting and all that, is that it seems like we are standing at the edge of our belief systems and the things that we want to think are real. That's the dogma you're talking about. And yet there's so much more that we as human beings need to evolve to or move into that will also help the planet. And the people that are stuck in or standing on their belief system staunchly are not seeing these possibilities that you're talking about, that if we can just relax enough and not hold on to the thing we're most afraid is going to be proved wrong and open up to this unknown side that you're mentioning that has these possibilities, we might find the solutions to these issues that you're describing, right? That's what quantum creativity is.
That's what quantum creativity is. It enables us to get into the solution space rather than forever remaining in the problem space.
I was talking to somebody today who has a belief system about chiropractors. And I happen to really enjoy seeing a chiropractor. It really helps. And her belief system is if you go once, you have to go all the time. So she avoids it. And consequently, she's in continuous pain. And I just looked at her and I realized, you know what? She just wants to be right about that from her one experience. And there's nothing I can say or do that will change her mind, except to know.
What she doesn't recognize is that the same thing is true of allopathic medicine.
Everything.
The point is that it is true that when our structural system, these bone structures and stuff, start showing the wear and tear because of our own neglect and immune system, etc. They're sort of autoimmune kind of disorder. And when this starts happening, there is no allopathic or alternative medicine that will give any permanent healing. But within that perimeter, what we can do, because there is a fundamental lack of synchrony between what we call the vital, which gives you the blueprints of biological form, and the form itself. This lack of synchrony can only be corrected temporarily. What the allopathic system does, it tries to correct it from the physical, holding certain dogmatic truths. Chiropractors don't have that kind of dogma, so they are much better in terms of their own procedure, which says that, okay, but a better way to do it is to correct the alignment of the spine, and this really is effective for quite a while. And then the alternative medicine goes even a little bit further. They say that, well, some of it is due to the problem of the vital body, and then we can adjust the vital body with stuff like acupuncture, and that also works for a while. But nothing will completely keep the synchrony from again going bad, because that's the problem with older age. It just, the system has gone into the condition where some deterioration is bound to take place with time. So you just assure a friend that the nature of the beast is such that, yes, she has to return to the chiropractor, but not as frequently as you think.
Right.
It's quite effective for quite a while.
So not to digress, but so then let's bring that back. I don't know if we can use that example as part of the quantum creativity, but it seems to me what I'm feeling as you're talking about these things, Dr. Goswami, is that there really is opportunity for us as individuals. And you said earlier, anybody can utilize creativity. Everybody is creative. So there is a place where in the when things are not looking so good, whether it's our health, like we were just talking about, or the state of affairs in the world, most people run into that place of fear and holding on to the thing they think they know. How do you get people to move from that into the awareness that there is this infinite field of possibilities that we can draw from?
Yes, I mean, that is the thing. But people have to first become familiar with the idea of their subtle domain, their internal domain versus the external. The people's frustration today is part of the reason that unconsciously they have accepted the philosophy of scientific materialism, that everything is material. They have taken it too seriously. If everything is material, it would have been a truism to say that matter has a kind of fixing. It's hard to change matter without drastic effects. So you need like surgery, you need like really drastic procedures oftentimes to fix matter. But the point is, part of our difficulties in the world, and that may be difficulty of living, but that may be also difficulty of health, physical health. These difficulties are coming from, not from matter per se. It's coming basically from mental and the vital domain. Vital is the feeling, our feelings. Our feelings have gone all right. Have you noticed that how many people today are depressed?
Oh,
because
yeah.
feelings have gone all right. Or how many people have cancer? Cancer, by and large, it could be a genetic predisposition, but by and large, they are because of suppression of feelings. By and large, they are because the immune system goes all right because we don't have love in our life. That kind of deep reason can easily be found in many cases. I have looked into it, the case of breast cancer particularly. In many cases, breast cancer happens because women grieve. It's just a fact.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we correct the grieving, if we bring back love in our life, which can be done using quantum creativity, then we can heal such things as depression and cancer. These are things that people should know. There is this phenomenon called quantum healing that Deepak Chopra first publicized, but it has now become well known and everybody knows about it. Medical doctors are aware of it. And it's available to every person.
Okay, so let's talk about the quantum healing, because that sounds like part of what we were talking about earlier about non-locality. So it sounds like it's something that can happen. So let's just talk about it. Describe to my listeners what quantum healing is for those that probably haven't heard it.
we started noticing cases where people would have spontaneous healing without medical intervention. There were a lot of cases that just added up. Institute of Noetic Sciences, they made a huge study of it and found hundreds of cases of spontaneous healing, no medical intervention. So without cause, people just heal. And then Deepak, to his credit, even when the quantum developments were very early in their stages, Deepak Chopra had this wonderful notion that this must be an example of quantum healing, must be an example of quantum leap. What's the quantum leap? When electrons jump from one atomic orbit to another, they don't go through the intervening space. They just do it directly here and there without going through the intervening space.
So there's no journey they're going through. They're just jumping.
They're just jumping.
Right.
Now, you can also say that they went through the domain of potentiality that we were talking about before. That's another way of putting it. So what Deepak then is saying, Chopra is saying, is that quantum healing is like that. That's why you did not need a procedure. You did not need medical intervention. Those are intermediates. There's no intermediates here. There is a disease, and then there is healing. Now, the funny thing is, the documentation suggests that there is a process that goes on into all this. And that process is actually a creative process. Some people just fall into the creative process without knowing that they are doing it. But now, some people are taking the leadership to put people through a creative process involving a lot of this do and be, visualizations, and then relaxing about it. And then eventually they're getting insights and they're healing their cancers. So we now have documented cases of recovery from disease through this medium of quantum healing. So if you have a disease that's considered to be very harmful to your body, leading to mastectomy, destruction of part of your body, you don't necessarily have to succumb to destructive methods of allopathic medicine like chemotherapy or mastectomy. You can at least be aware that alternative methods are available. If you want to use them, by all means, they're very usable, and we have the complete guidance, and you can do it.
So, see, and I totally believe this. I've been going through some personal stuff, and I ended up having some rashes, and I went to the dermatologist, and I said, I think this is emotional, and he said, no. It's this and that and this, it was very materialistic. And it took me a while to get to a place within myself where I could find the answers of what was the emotionality that was causing the rash. And once I got that, then the rashes went away. I didn't need the topical ointments. I just think it's so important for people to realize that we don't always need that intermediary, like you were talking about, to solve our problems or to move us forward in life. We really have all that we need right within ourselves if we are willing to do what you're suggesting of relaxing and kind of tapping into that, tuning in to yourself.
Yes, and with that I'll add a little more, because I actually believe in the fact of integral medicine. I don't think that we have to throw away allopathy completely. I do believe that in certain situations, the availability of allopathy is very good, and a combination is the best procedure. For example, allopathy gives us time. It buys us time. And
Yes.
All the alternative procedures like quantum healing, you cannot put a timeline on it. You cannot say that, okay, your healing will come within the next 6 months. Creative process has no such time-bound characteristic. So what we do is we do the best we can using all the procedures that are available to us. Yes, if it seems judicious that the radiation treatment first will buy you more time, or a surgery first will buy you more time, my point is that you do it. Because allopathy has validity too. It's very good as emergency medicine. It gives you more time. Because alternative healing process, correcting the mind creatively or correcting the vital energy blocks creatively takes time. So this is the best thing, middle path. We use all that is available to our consciousness. We don't throw away necessarily the materialist know-how that we have built for the last 400 years, but we add the subtle know-how that we are developing in the past 30, 40 years, And now really we can say that we have full capacity of using alternative and regular medicine together, just as you have the capacity of alternative science, is quantum science and what you have learned from Newtonian science all together. We should use the optimum, what is available and what is the best for this situation.
I completely agree with you, Dr. Goswami. So this also sounds like this is part of what you talk about in your book, Quantum Creativity, that there's an inner creativity and an outer creativity. Can you speak a little bit more to that?
Yeah, when we say creativity, because of the culture that we live in, people more or less associate creativity with what Abraham Maslow used to call talent-driven creativity. We have made into a division of people, talented people versus us, ordinary people, and we leave creativity to the talented. This has been a very sad affair. Quantum physics is saying that no, everybody has this potentiality, and if we learn to access them, like through the creative process, we can all be creative. So what is very important for people to see is that outer accomplishment, be it in the sciences, be it in the arts, be it in the business, or be it in healing, all of this requires expertise, because the systems have just developed too much methodology. These are very sophisticated systems already. The sophistication prevents ordinary people from immediately participating in the creative process.
Yeah.
You have to develop a lot of know-how before you can engage in the creative process. But there is another kind of creativity, which also society needs today desperately. Healing is included in this latter one. But it is very important how to live life. This itself needs to be creative. We are not good in parenting. We are destroying our children's lives because we are such bad parents. Similarly, we are not good lovers. We are destroying relationships. Look, at 50% of marriages end up in divorce, and this is not acceptable. We invest too much in marriages for them to break up suddenly, often for avoidable reasons.
Right.
And this is just not acceptable. It's a wastage of personal and social resources completely unnecessarily. So what I'm saying is that people can use the same creative process for changing themselves, inner creativity, changing the way we think, changing the way we live, changing the way we use our feelings, changing the way we don't integrate our feelings with our thinking, changing the way that we look at our spiritual values. We don't integrate them together in our mental and vital life. If we learn to do all this, especially we live a life of synchrony between how we think, how we feel, how we speak, and how we really live. If we do this, life will become already such a wonderful place to live that is itself tremendously rewarding. You can call it spiritual enlightenment, but you don't have to. Those are very exalted words giving specific meaning, but everybody would agree that they would rather be happy than unhappy.
Right.
Okay, so live the quantum way, I can guarantee you this. You'll be more happy than unhappy.
Well, and I agree with you. If you're thinking that you're going to be spiritually enlightened, that just seems like, oh, God, I'm just too tired. Who wants to do that? But creativity is fun. That sounds like you're putting fun back in your life.
Right, exactly. And it's important only if it is fun. So what people are finding that if you, once you change your life to live around this quantum creativity, life becomes a kind of a flow. This flow experience that more and more people are having. And Americans love flow, because if you didn't, why do you watch basketball game, or just now the Winter Olympics just came to an end? Why do you watch sports? Because in sports you see that people are having this flow experience. When the skier is moving downhill, it's just wonderful to watch it, because they're completely in a flow with the environment. And this is how you can live, we all can live, if we learn the trick of the athlete, which is to surrender to the moment in a way that the ego self in us and the quantum self in us, which is another name for this inner spontaneity that we sometimes feel when we are close to the ocean or on the mountain or on the ski slope. And it is in everybody's prerogative to be in this flow experience that athletes get. So That's the invitation. Invitation is that do you want to live a life of unhappy stuckness in Newtonian worldview because you are dogmatic, or you want to free yourself and live the quantum way?
I love that you just shared that because I think that the idea of flow, it's not necessarily how everybody lives their life. They start their day with the to-do list of what they got to do before or after work or during work and the accomplishment. And we really do forget that everything around us, nature, everything is in a natural flow. And we are a part of that. We're not separate from that. We're a part of it.
No, we're not separate from it. This is the thing. We unnecessarily, these ideas of traditional science, scientific materialism, has introduced ideas of separateness, that we are separate from the environment. No, the environment is already flowing. The train is already moving. So we can just put our luggage down and join the flow.
And enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride, exactly.
So, Dr. Goswami, in your book you also talked about, I just want to tap on the idea of creativity in big businesses, because you talk about that and that there is, you've made this phrase, economics of consciousness. So can you speak a little bit more about that for people that are entrepreneurs or doing big business, how creativity is actually a useful thing?
Absolutely. Again, the businesses, like the rest of the society, has not been paying attention to what is actually taking place, which is an ignoring of the human being in favor of the machine. We have become such believers that we are machines, that we have been developing the machine aspects to ourselves much too much at the neglect of the human aspect. So one thing that businesses have not learned is to at all value the well-being of our person. We are only worshipping money in business. Making profit is the only thing, objective of business. But really, what business are looking for is to find representations of abundance. Wealth is an expression or representation of abundance. Now, what is wealth? Wealth, of course, there is material wealth. Money is wealth. Certainly, stocks and bonds are wealth. Real estate is wealth. No doubt about it. And so is certain cultural capital, that is also wealth. If I write a book and the book makes money, that is wealth, and book also helps future generations. It's wealth. We accept that. What we don't accept, that every human being who lives in a certain way, is spontaneously alive, can influence others to also be spontaneously alive, that is also a kind of wealth. We can call it human capital. This human capital, this idea has been completely ignored. So businesses not only not produce commodities which help the human to become capital, it also does not value human capital. As a result, what is happening? We are more and more replacing the human labor with mechanical labor, which is fine, but then you start producing stuff that is specifically human that the machine cannot do, because otherwise what will happen? Unemployment will go on increasing, and soon there will be just chaos. The world cannot exist without human beings having a way of surviving, way of making a living. We must pay attention to that. The governments, the economies, all of our social systems will break down. Capitalism itself will no longer satisfy any dream, let alone the American dream.
So I'm sorry. So you're saying that with creativity infused into businesses, then the human being aspect will become more connected and more spontaneous?
Yes, our human need must come to the forefront of the business awareness.
I really agree with you.
We can actually make business products out of what energies we feel, what energies we think, like meaning, and even the values, even the wholeness, even the happiness. So the previous wisdom was that all these are intangible and we cannot make them into products of economy. That is false. We now can measure them. We can measure vital energy. We can measure mental meaning, if you will. So we can use some of the quantitative aspects of this new science and use it to develop technology. Just today, a woman came to me and asked that I use Botox because I have a little bit vanity left. She's handsome. So I don't blame her to use Botox for the wellness of the skin.
Right.
But she feels very uncertain about it because she doesn't necessarily feel very good when she uses Botox. So I told her that, why? Because the Botox is just purely chemical contraption. It does not have any vital energy. It's not organic. This is why. So supplement with your use of Botox with the vital energy massage by a masseuse, and then you'll feel better. Now, this is a very simple advice. We can give it today because you can understand that, yes, physical molecules have lost some of its usefulness to organic beings because it's purely molecular level of cure. It does not heal, does not give a wholeness. So you don't feel so good. So for feeling good, you have to bring back these vital aspects of product. Can products be revitalized? Yes, they can. We now have the technology. Like, we drink water. I'll just give you one very situation which is going almost out of hand. In all cities, pollution is so bad now from our water sources that we purify, use so much chemical treatment that the water loses all of its vitality. Water is a crucial source of vital energy. So we don't find the water refreshing anymore. Have you noticed that water does not quench the thirst like it used to?
No, yeah, I agree.
More and more people who know they have to buy water. I mean, this is a shame. The society where water has become a costly product because you have to buy spring water, and only the spring water brings us that thirst-quenching capacity that water should have routinely. This is an example of how we could vitalize the ordinary tap water and bring back that quality that water gives us. We have to be aware. We have to be aware that organic products has more vitality and less organic product doesn't. We have to be aware how refined sugar is killing our culture, and if we start going back to organic sugar, molasses and stuff, then we get the vital energy, and it's infinitely better for us. Children today are suffering from ADHD. It's a shame that sugar is doing this to us. And if you are a Mayor Bloomberg and try to correct that, then opposition will immediately start saying, "Oh, you are affecting freedom of expression."
Right.
Freedom of expression to destroy yourself. We live a very funny culture.
Well, and and what you're doing with all the books that you've written, and the last one being Quantum Creativity, is giving us, which is why I'm so grateful you were able to make it on the show today, Dr. Goswami. You're giving people the opportunity to see that there are more possibilities out there, more and a better, it's my opinion that it's better, but a more creative way of approaching life than just in the way it used to be. I'm all about we're moving into some new paradigm. Don't know what it is yet because we haven't lived it yet, but something has definitely changed. And I personally want to make sure that I'm on that leading edge of awareness so that I can have the best life I want. That's why the show's called Living Your Inspired Life.
Yes, and I like that word, inspiration. Inspiration is totally lacking in our education. Inspiration is totally lacking in our life. If we bring inspiration back, immediately we gain some sensitivity to the dimensions of life that we're ignoring. And those sensitivities are crucial for creativity. As I said, creativity does not even begin without being sensitive to our intuitive dimension.
Our intuitive
dimension.
Yeah.
And it turns out that creativity is much enhanced if we are pursuing it with love, rather than pursuing it with fear. In fact, fear is antagonistic to creativity, which many people don't realize. Fear keeps us away, whereas love opens us to creativity. So it is very important to bring back those things that inspire us. Love inspires us. Intuition inspires us. We have to put in, somebody wrote that in addition to the 3 R's, we need the 3 I's. The 3 I's, one of the major I's, of course, inspiration. We need it. We need it badly.
So, Dr. Goswami, I want to let everybody know that you are going to be in Ventura County on Friday, March 7th at at the Ventura Center for Spiritual Living, and you're going to be talking about creativity in the time of crisis and paradigm shifts. And so I would invite everybody to come and see Dr. Goswami and hear what else he has to say about all of this. The Ventura Center for Spiritual Living, you can check out their website, which is venturacsl.org. They are located at 101 South Laurel Street in Ventura, and the number there is 805-643-1933, so that you can hear Dr. Amit Goswami talk more about quantum physics and how it is actually a really positive thing when we can wrap our mind around it and use it. So, if you have any more information or any more questions, you can also go to my website, livingyourinspiredlife.org, and listen to the shows and find out more about what it is you can do to live your inspired life and to tune in and tune up. So, Dr. Amit Goswami, I want to thank you so much for being here today and going through this wonderful flow and ride with me.
You are welcome, Susan. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. So I'm just going to end by saying, and so it is, namaste.